How cheeky you can be will depend on how the market is, and it'll also depend on the vendor. Some some people are very offended if you make a really low offer, but once you've sold a few properties, you find that most people make their first low offer really low. So certainly don't play your best uh, card first up. It's good to give the vendor choices. It makes them feel like they've got some control over the process. So, but not too many choices, because if you line up a string of options, then it becomes a dilemma, and they're focusing on, if you bring, a sense of confusion into the process, then it will hobble what you're trying to achieve. So I actually like to give them two options, and one might be one price, obviously a higher price with a long settlement, and then a slightly lower price with a shorter settlement. Well, not slightly, a lot lower for a shorter settlement. So the standard is 6 weeks. Wouldn't go any less than that, unless you absolutely had to. But our last property we got 3 months with on the same price. Okay. If you can keep your negotiations on the amount of deposit you pay until after your offer's been accepted, um, it's better for you. The standard is 10% deposit. These days, 5% is pretty normal. You don't have too much trouble getting that. Now, you can work at getting the deposit down a lot lower, but you need to beware that even though you may only pay a few thousand deposit, you're still on the hook for the full 10%. So it helps your cash flow, but it doesn't reduce your risk. In fact, there was a case in the paper on Monday, I think it was, where Tony Collette and her husband bought a house at auction for 6.25 million and paid a 5% deposit, and then couldn't sell their own house, so they reneged on the contract. And the vendor put the property back on the market, but she could only get 5.5 million for it. And so she took them to court and won, and they were ordered to pay the difference and the costs. So they actually paid over 800,000 on a house that they didn't buy. So this is a really good reminder of, when you go into an unconditional contract, yeah, you really are committing yourself. So you need to make sure that you have covered all your bases. I hope I'm not scaring you too much, but I want to make sure that you're well informed. The deposit can also be paid with a deposit bond, which means that you're not coming up with cash, but it has to be secured against something, either cash or property, something of value. Okay, so know your weaknesses. Emotions are your worst enemy. You need to keep yourself sufficiently removed from the project, because emotions distort your judgment. It's hard when you love what you do, and the negotiating process tends to get the adrenaline pumping. Well, it certainly does for me. I get over this by reminding myself that a better deal always turns up when I miss out on one, and it seems to work. But if you can't keep it in check, consider using a buyer's agent. It'll cost you a couple of percent, but they're expert negotiators, and I think it's money well spent. Always make your offers in writing and accompany it with a cheque for the holding deposit. Verbal offers really are just something for the agent to shop around. If you're going to make an offer, you really want the vendor to be seriously considering it, and a cheque usually helps that process along. So you can make it with the holding deposit, with or without signing the contract. Signing the contract means that you risk losing that 0.25% if you don't go through with the purchase, or if you cool off basically. However, signing the contract means that you can't get gazumped. Okay, so just a quick note on buying at auction. So preparation, finance and due diligence needs to be done up front. As I say, once the hammer falls, the property's yours, the contract is unconditional. Sometimes those auction conditions can be applied to a private sale, but there's a special form that gets filled out, and yes, so your solicitor would make you aware if that was part of the deal, and it's not usual. Sometimes people, when they've had something on the market for ages and they're really fed up with it, and particularly if you make an offer and they want to hurry it through, they might want it under those conditions. But you need to make sure that you're fully aware of it. Don't sign anything you don't understand. Negotiate conditions. So with an auction, if you're bidding at auction, negotiate your conditions prior to the auction. So if there's anything, if you want to reduce the deposit or anything like that, you can get usually a few things through there, because vendors want to have as many bidders as possible, but don't bid on a property and then say, oh, can I just pay 5%? Because after the hammer's fallen, you need to come up with the money, and the contract is binding and there's no cooling off. Okay, so let's assume that you have made an offer and it's been accepted, or you've bought at auction, and you're actually going to be progressing with the project. You have 6 weeks, or if it's a 6-week settlement, you've got 6 weeks to really get that project ready, up and running, so that on day one that you've got your trades lined up, ready to go. And so make really good use of that time, because it's like a free ticket. And if you can get all your little ducks lined up in a row so the project happens quickly and efficiently, then you'll be in for a good outcome. Okay, and that's it. So next week is week 5, and we have plans, approvals and renovation, or the commencement of the renovation process. Does anyone have any more questions? Okay, well, thanks for coming on tonight, and I will look forward to presenting again to you next week. If you have any questions, just send me an email as usual, and I'll certainly do my best to answer them. Thank you.